right, we're just having fun with some of these today. There's no call to action at the end of this. There is no talk to your senators. There is none of that. We'll get into all that tomorrow. Instead, today is about making fun of people. Today is me being petty. Today, we are looking at a piece of fan art, and we're not judging that. We're going to be judging a single, solitary comment. And I know, that sounds far more exciting than it actually is. But first, let's get to the fan art section. Holy shit! That is really good. And it uses the Sonic onesie artwork that Pernia made, so it's also really cool. The Wild Baloney says, I drew Sonic Suris in all her glory to pass time. Damn right you did. Damn right you did. You absolutely did that. Holy shit, that looks fucking fantastic. I want your art for thumbnails. I don't know if I can afford your art for thumbnails. I'm already buying more of Black Cat Briar's art for thumbnails. And I've got an entire thing being worked on by Remixin and Cassifel and Pernia. I can't afford more art. Crap. Anyway, thank you for your fan art submission. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, then please drop it in the fan art section of the Discord. That all said, I wish I had that much skill for pastimes, but I've already tried drawing and I suck balls at it. That's why I talk on here. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into things. Again, thank you very, very, very much, Wild Baloney. Holy shit. Anyway. Jeopardy says, you could afford my art, just wouldn't be that quality. Jesus. I mean, Jet, I've seen you draw hot women. Was busy with college when Gen 34 dropped it, didn't catch up until with Pokégo. Yes, it says, do what I do and bake. I can't draw for shit, but I'm very good at baking. Yeah, but I have no interest in baking. I like cooking. I like learning to cook things. Cooking is fun. Baking is a science that I care not for. Anywho, so this is a comment that was on my video about the brain-dead woman in Georgia who was forced to stay on life support to carry to term. So, let's go ahead and start reading here. Excuse me? No. First of all, completely removing the abortion topic from the equation for a minute. You can't, but go ahead and try. Even if she wasn't pregnant, they would still likely be keeping her alive anyway, because being brain dead is not the same thing as being actually dead. You did hear that the family wanted to pull the plug, right? And that's like their prerogative to be able to do. Just let their daughter die with dignity. Like, that was the thing. That was actually part of the whole ordeal. They could try to remove the brain clots in the hopes that maybe she might recover. Do you know how a stroke works? Do you know that, like, once you're brain dead because of a stroke, like, that's generally it, right? That's because that part of your brain, it's gone. That's why when you are a stroke victim, you lose certain things like motor functions or memories that you used to have are gone, because the areas in your brain that stored that information are actually gone. You have to relearn those things. Stroke victims that have speech issues, often it's because the speech part of their brain was affected and part of it died as a result of the stroke. I'm sorry, no. You've been watching way too much House MD. Though, if you were declared brain dead, it is very unlikely that you could survive. This is why I have a DNR, by the way. I thank you for the information. I don't know when it's going to be relevant, because the thought of potentially being kept alive artificially against my will is freaking terrifying, but we don't know her views on medical support. You're right, we don't. I gave you the information we did have. Secondly, this is not what pro-life is about. Actually, it is. No. I'm sorry. So, the pro-life movement does not exist from the ground up. It is not a ground-up movement. It is a top-down movement. What USB device is not connected? I don't understand. Anyway, the The pro-life movement has a bunch of suckers who think they are part of a movement, but no, it is a top-down attempt to control women's bodies. There is no grassroots, not compared to the systemic level of control that is tried to be forced out via shit like the Seven Mountains Mandate. I'm sorry, but no. Your perspective on what pro-life is about doesn't really matter. The actual things that pro-life movements do in the judicial system, in the lawmaking system, is control people's body. This end result, this cruelty, is exactly what it's about. You can pretend that you and your own special individual version of it isn't about that. But you are a drop in the bucket compared to a giant system. And I don't care what you think. I care what that system thinks and what that system does. And I'm sorry, but it is about the cruelty and it is about the control. Anyway, if it's proven beyond reasonable doubt that the fetus would most likely end up dying anyway, then there's nothing there to save. Pro-life is about saving the lives of the children who could actually survive into adulthood if they were not aborted. This bullshit right here has nothing to do with us. Yeah, it does, though. It does. Like, okay, the idea that the woman's body is being kept alive artificially and she's not allowed to just die with dignity is entirely the fault of the pro-life movement. The top-down systemic movement that got rid of Roe v. Wade, that passed a heartbeat bill in Georgia. You can't say that this has nothing to do with you when your movement, not the little tiny infinitesimal bit that you think you represent, the actual movement at large, is directly responsible for this. No, you don't get to wipe your hands clean of that. I'm sorry. This is you being a child. This is the fault of people who believe exactly as you do. Anyway, back to the actual comment. Third, you call yourselves pro-choice, but you're talking about a woman who cannot tell us what her choice would be. You're right. So without her choice being available, we default to the choice of the partner and the family. And they have said that they want their choice to be taking her off the machine. That is part of what that choice is, yes. You are projecting your own opinions onto her. No, I'm talking about the opinions of the family. That's not pro-choice either. Yes, it is. You claim to care about the woman's choice, but when have you ever actually listened to what a woman wants when she tell you that her choice is pro-life? Bitch, if you want to be pro-life, that's fine. I have no problem with you individually as your personal person in a bucket. I do not care if you do not want to have an abortion. The point of the pro-choice movement is so that anybody can have that choice. It is, in fact, listening to your choice if you are pro-life. If you are pro-life, you get to be that. Maybe Estonian, thank you for gifting out a tier 1 sub. I appreciate it. You do realize that's also a choice, right? Yeah. That's why you're allowed to make it. In a system governed by pro-choice thought processes, you get to choose not to abort. That is an option you have. You are allowed to do that. That is the point. You idiot. How can you claim to be pro-choice when clearly you don't care about her choice when she disagrees with you? Nobody, who is the her here? Who's this hypothetical straw woman that you've brought up into the conversation? You're only pro-choice when it's your own choice. No, actually, I'm pro-choice when it comes to anybody's choice. If you choose not to abort, you're allowed to do that. That's the entire fucking point. Are you an idiot? I think you're actually just kind of an idiot. The moment when a woman disagrees with you about abortion, you suddenly don't care about her choice. You actively tell her that her choice is wrong. Huh? How? When? When have I said that it's wrong for a woman to keep a child? They're allowed to do that. Again, you're an idiot. My aunt is a rape victim. Just say rape. My aunt is a rape victim. Her daughter is the result of that rape. Okay, cool. And even as an adult, you assholes tell my cousin that her life inherently holds less value than her mother's because of how she was conceived and that she should have been aborted. No. Nobody, I promise you, I have never said that, and nobody I know has ever said that or believed that. Nobody says that your life has less value because you're conceived from rape. Nobody I've ever seen believes that shit. And I don't think you can get any pro-life person to believe or to say that in the first place. The idea is not that that life is worth less or more once that person has been birthed. The idea is making sure that a person has a choice whether or not they want to bear a baby from rape because of all the implications that come as a result of that. I'm trying to figure out which one of these people is more fucking brain dead. The actual vegetable you're talking about or the person writing the fucking comment. I am not pro-life to protect a fetus that may not even survive anyway. I assure you, you are. I am pro-life because my cousin has literally received death threats from you lot who claim to care so much about women. I would like some context on that. Again, if that's actually happened, then that is sad, and I am sorry for that. But, that was not me. I can say you people with your beliefs when you're talking about a actual thing that has been passed by a government that is doing a pro-life directive, but you don't get to throw that shit on me when the context is entirely different. This is not about... I feel like this is an emotional argument. I don't know why I'm in the weeds on this one. I don't care about your cousin. Like, that's gonna sound kind of cruel, but I am not responsible for any death threats that were levied at her. And if they were levied at her, then I'm sorry. That's awful. I don't know how anybody else would actually know that she was a victim of rape. Now, however, if your cousin has received death threats, which, again, nobody should receive unless they are named a particular person who I can't say on the internet, but nobody should receive death threats. However, if the opinion that she has been giving has been one that directly leads to women being unable to have choices about their body, it makes sense that people would engage in a certain form of psychological self-defense, which can lead to them saying some pretty nasty shit to her. So the question is, were people saying bad things to your cousin because she was conceived from rape, or have people said bad things to your cousin because she has advocated that women should lose their rights because of how she popped out of a vaguboo? Which one is it? And I ask you to be very honest with me when you give that answer, because I'm going to assume, based on what I know about people in general, that unless she's been on 4chan, that it's going to be the latter. Said you singular and you plural might be the problem here, but this take is still stubbornly uninformed. It is. It is. You lot use her trauma as justification to threaten her daughter, yet you claim to care about women. Again, who's you lot here? Who are we talking about? Why are we doing a group thing? When you're talking about a movement, then we talk about things that movement is responsible for. A movement at large was responsible for changing in legislation. A movement at large is not really responsible for individual threats that were levied at a person if those threats happened and if they were levied for the reasons that you mentioned. But again, I'm assuming based on my time on the internet that it's very likely that it's because of the opinions that were espoused. But again, I'm in the weeds on this one. This has nothing to do with pro-life versus pro-choice. Yes, it does, actually. The pro-life movement directly led to the legislation that led us here in the first place. I don't know what you're on about, because you are wrong. It's not pro-life because, according to the news article, that child may not even survive anyway. But the reason that they're stuck on the machine is because of the pro-life movement. Did you forget that one? Or are you just ignoring it? That's not what I signed up to protect. Okay, cool. I'm glad that you agree that when you individually did not sign up for something, that you cannot be held responsible for those actions. I want you to keep that same goddamn energy with the conversation we had a couple of seconds ago. Anyway, it's not pro-choice either. Yes, it is. The family is not being given a choice because the woman's... It's never been about a woman's choice, and you really proved that with this one. No, I really didn't. How's a brain-dead woman going to make her own decision? She's not. No, the family and the estate will. But they've not been allowed to make that choice. That's the point. The choice would be with the woman if she could make one. But since she can't make one, the choice is with the estate. And if the estate is making a different choice, and that choice is not being honored because some random Georgia law prevents them from going forward with that choice, that is the conversation. I'm just trying to understand how you don't get that. This seems very cut and dry to me. We don't know her choice. We can't know that. Man, this seems like I'm reading the script for one of my own videos with how often you're repeating points that don't actually get us anywhere. They just feel like a way to remind yourself that you hammer the point home the right way, and you're saying it over and over again because you're worried that the last time you said this exact point, it wasn't really registered the correct way. I've registered it the correct way. You're just wrong. Unless she left something in writing before this happened when she's mentally capable of giving her own opinion, there's no way to know for certain what she would have wanted. Again, this is why the choice defaults to the estate. And this article is not giving us enough information to know what her choice would have been. Again, the choice defaults to the estate. So you aren't pro-choice. Again, I am. You're pro-forcing your views onto a brain-dead woman. Are you ignoring the fact that the views of the Georgia government were forced on her, and she's actively being hooked up to a machine that she can't get off of because the choice was revoked from her? Like, again, do you think before you type things, or are you just, like, routinely stupid in your day-to-day? I'm just curious. I am against the idea of being kept alive artificially by a machine. What the fuck are you arguing about, then? That's my personal views for myself. I'm not gonna force that onto someone else. Nobody's asking you to. What the fuck are you on about? If they want to go through painful medical procedures to stay alive for as long as possible, that's their choice. I don't know what this woman's views on life support are, if she's anything that... This is the same sentence as before. If I were grading this the same way that a teacher would grade an essay, I would be saying that this is a redundant part of the conversation because you've already elucidated this point. Nothing's changed here. This is the same point as before. Choice is an inherent part of life. Your idea of pro-choice is not about choice, it's about control. Because you don't seem to be able to grasp the concept that your right to choose ends when it threatens the life of another person. Ah, okay, I see. This is projection. The pro-life movement sees that it's actually about controlling women's bodies, and when that point is brought up, they say, how can we word this in a way that it's actually pro-women, and it's getting rid of their choices when they're pro-choice, actually. That's all this is. Okay, glad to know I'm on that page. I do not know what the best choice would be here, and neither do you, because neither of us are that woman. Again, it's not about what the best choice would be. It's about the choice of the people who matter here, and the people who matter here are not the person who's brain dead. The people who matter here are the people who are having to deal with the inability to engage in closure whatsoever. That would be the partner, that would be the family. Really, our opinions don't matter in the slightest. Well, then why are you saying your opinions on the internet? And if you can't understand that, then you're not pro-choice. Again, I am. You're just projecting. Again, you are. Your own views onto a person who can't even defend herself. That is controlling behavior. Again, I'm not. That is what you are doing right now. That is what the entire pro-life movement has done from the beginning. This is projecting the point about control at the pro-choice movement when the point of the pro-choice movement is to allow for that choice. There's nothing controlling about wanting to have the option to pull the plug on a brain-dead relative. That's not controlling, that's wanting closure. And I know this because my family had to make this exact choice when it came to my uncle, when we had to pull the plug on my uncle because he failed to commit suicide when he shot himself in the head. He did not liquidate enough of his own brain. And so the plug had to be pulled. I got to see him frothing at the mouth on the actual deathbed, unable to articulate a thought, unable to say anything about the people around him. He had no idea that there were people around him. He had no idea anything whatsoever. The concept of an idea was lost on him, because at that point he ceased being a person. He was a corpse being kept alive by a pumping mechanism. So I'm very familiar with this situation. And if you get to use random anecdotes from another person's fucking life, like your cousin's, I get to use random anecdotes from my life. And having been in the situation where the conversation about whether or not we need to unplug Uncle was given, guess what? I'm speaking from that experience. I'm not projecting shit. I'm speaking from the experience of an estate that was given the choice to unplug the next of kin. If it later comes out that the woman did have a DNR, that she did not want to be kept alive artificially, I will support that is her choice. If it later comes out that she wanted her baby to survive as long as possible, even if she doesn't, are you going to support that choice? Sure. If that's what she wanted, then cool. If the thing that she wanted is that, then neat. But this isn't about what she wanted, you dumb bitch. Oh boy, let's talk about what this is actually about and stop talking past each other. I'm willing to call you a dumb bitch because you're acting like a dumb bitch. When you stop acting like a dumb bitch, I'll stop calling you a dumb bitch. Now that we're done saying names at each other, I'm the only one saying names at you because I've got the microphone, actually. I lied. Let's go ahead and talk about what this is actually about. Person whose name I'm not going to say, even though I showed it on screen in the beginning of the video. I'm hoping nobody decides to go to that person and actually say anything or do anything. Though there's already comments there, anywho, and I already responded to that, which I think makes it where people see comments more often. I'm not 100% certain. So I don't know if I've already caused a bunch of people to come and attack you. Not my hope. I just want to call you a moron. So, here's what is actually the problem. The problem is not the choice being made, and we are talking past each other. We are talking past each other because you seem fixated on the fact that I apparently said that the wrong choice is being made. No, that is not my point. It was not my point with that video, and it's not my point now, you dumb bitch. The point is that the choice is not being given. I do not care if a woman wants to be kept on a bunch of machines to keep a fetus alive, regardless of whether or not there will be any quality of life to the baby's life. I do not care if that is the choice that she wants to make, if that is the choice that the family wants to make. I care about a choice being available. You fight for a world where choice is not available. I fight for a world where choice is available. And the fact that you don't see that is so goddamn repulsive that I can't call you the words that are appropriate to call you. But I promise you, they would get me kicked off of YouTube. If it later... Okay, we're still on the DNR thing. You want to use her to justify ending a life? No, I trust me. Of all the lives in the world that I would justify ending, a random baby is one that I don't give enough of a fuck about to even talk about ending. I care because a choice was taken away from a United States citizen. That's why I care. Anyway... It doesn't change my pro-life statue because I'm an idiot. No matter what, I'm still supporting her decision that she made in her life. So you don't support the decision moving to the estate when she lost the ability to make a choice? You don't support any of that? Again, you're not even supporting her decision, actually. You openly said earlier that you don't know what her decision was. So I'm trying to figure out where this I support her decision part is coming from. You openly stated you did not know what her decision was, and now you're saying I do support her decision. I am supporting her decision. It doesn't go against my views to end a life that likely wouldn't have survived anyway. Why the fuck are you talking? It goes against your views to protect a choice you don't agree with, though. No, it doesn't. Oh, look, there's the end of it. There's the fan art again. It's still really good. And then, of course, somebody did respond saying, the woman's family isn't being given a choice whether to pull the plug or not. They are the ones who are suffering and who are going to be stuck with waiting to see if the baby survives, which it probably will not. We are outraged because the woman is suffering from having to deal with this crap. Or the woman's family is suffering from having to deal with this crap. I am so glad that somebody was able to articulate that in far fewer sentences than I took. I took 24 minutes to articulate my point. And the TLDR for my point is, what the hell are you talking about? Are you a moron? Like, I know there were other words that I used that were probably more articulate than that, but those are the ones that I want to lean on right now. Because truly and honestly, the amount of cognitive dissonance required to come to this point where you argue you're not pro-choice, I'm actually the most in favor of choice, when your direct argument leads to the revocation of choice from women and trans men who get pregnant across the goddamn aisle, and the, like, 2 or 3 NBs that get pregnant as well. Don't worry, I see you. Like, it's so fucking frustrating. And I refuse to get in the weeds and argue with you. Instead, I'm just going to kind of point and make fun of you. And whenever somebody makes a point like yours, I'm going to point this at this video so that I never have to argue with them again. I don't apologize for utilizing you as convenient shorthand to make it to where I don't have to do work for fights for the rest of my life. But that's what I'm doing. So, your choice to be willfully ignorant and write a book about it in my comment section, that's consent enough for me to do this response video. You know, I want to say that this is where politics and compassion should meet, but I don't think I was being very compassionate this entire time. I was just kind of being a toxic dick. Huh. Went back to my League of Legends days there for a bit. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie-chan, Kiri Artemis, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.